I'm not sure how many of you caught all or a portion of CNN's New Year's Eve ball drop celebration about a week ago, but if you didn't and you are a fan of Steve Perry, or the band that he formerly was a part of, Journey, I suspect that you may have heard a thing or two about it. But if for any reason you haven't heard, here's what happened. So just a little bit before the ball was about to drop, co-host Andy Cohen mentioned that Journey had been playing over on the ABC stage. The band had been heavily advertised as being one of the headliners for Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. Yep, that's a mouthful. Anyway, so Andy got a little bit inebriated, and he decides to go off on a rant about Journey. It only lasts for a moment, but in this rant, Andy manages to say that the band performing over on the ABC stage is not the real Journey, and that Steve Perry is Journey. Fortunately, Anderson Cooper is on hand to quickly reel Andy in, but his point was made, and some might say the damage was done. Now, those of us who grew up in the late 70s and early 80s, well, we all know what Andy is talking about. Yep, that version of the band was super great, and Steve Perry was unmistakably a huge contributor to the band's success back then. But Steve left the band. There are all sorts of reasons why Steve made that decision, and I've made numerous videos just like this one where I talk about Steve and the band that was a huge part of his life. But ultimately Steve moved on, and a few years back he gifted his fans with this amazing album. His first in over 20 years. Traces was everything that we Steve Perry fans could have hoped for. Each song contained within the album meant something to Steve, and because of that, it meant something to us as well. And while he was promoting the album, Steve did a ton of interviews where he discussed the reason for his return to music, and along the way he made it clear that he had nothing but good feelings and well wishes for the current incarnation of Journey. Never once during those many conversations did Steve ever try to discount what Neil Schon, Arnel Pineda, and Jonathan Cain are currently doing as active members of Journey. As always, Steve stayed classy. As has Journey themselves. I follow Neil and Arnel on Twitter, and both of them, while acknowledging Andy's comment, chose to rise above the fray and simply ignore those who choose to be haters. Which brings us back to the Andy and Anderson show on New Year's Eve. Do I really think that Andy was trying to be hateful? Well, not really. I don't think he was actually even trying to be mean. Rather, I think he was misguidedly just expressing his loyalty to Steve. Something that many of us Steve Perry and Journey fans can understand. I just hope if Andy is such a big Steve Perry fan that he has actually purchased a copy of Traces. That's how we express our love and loyalty to all of those hardworking musicians out there who give us so much joy through music. So, if for any reason you weren't aware of Traces or Steve's recent holiday album, I'll post links to both of them in the description section of this video. I'll also post a link to Journey's greatest hits. I would also love to read your thoughts in the comments section. So let me know what you're thinking. And what the heck, why not consider subscribing to this channel? This is the place where I talk about music from a time gone by. Mostly from the 70s and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.